don't care what's going on, and it's amazing. I do a part of the show that's like they believe they're Michael Jackson, and they'll just come out doing the moonwalk, whether they can do it or not, they don't care, and it's just amazing what happens.
So if you're doing this as they're pretending to be Michael Jackson, I'm going to assume this is not a kid's show.
Actually, it's okay for kids because the show, you'd be amazed how the kids like to watch their adults perform, if you like. So.
Michael Jackson. I'm gonna assume.
Real quick,
I think we're getting a reverb.
Do you have
we're getting some kind of weird feedback?
Do you have Excite Radio playing in your behind you?
Is that better?
Yeah, turn the volume on the Excite Radio down. Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, okay, we got it.
All right.
Yeah, Bright, to be sure, there's lots of shows around and people do different things, but the show that I do, the content of it really, where the kids can watch it, they can't take part, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
It's just amazing what comes out with these with people. I mean, it still surprises me, where it comes out. And I remember doing a show in Europe. I'd got some shows going on in Europe, and I was talking to the audience, and there was a guy in about his 40s, if you like, and I told him it was Michael Jackson, and without me knowing, he was doing somersaults.
Wow.
Which he could do when he was 20, and I was thinking, blimey, I've got to be careful that the guy don't break his ankle or something.
Legal waivers at the front door.
That's it. Yeah. But we've got a way of doing that. You see, I always suggest at the beginning of the show that you come up here on your own accord. So we sort of cover that really.
So, I mean, this is not exactly what you would call a standard profession. How did you come to this? How did where what was the morning that Peter woke up and said, hypnosis?
Great question. Not to be truthful, let me tell you where my passion is. The shows was my second passion. My first passion is to help people.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always been interested in people and the mind and the brain. And I remember, I probably haven't told many people this, but for a while I thought I was from a different planet because my brain used to work on a sort of a level, and I thought people can't understand me. And I
feel the same way all the time.
Huh?
I said I feel the same way all the time.
Yeah, well, I'm alien.
No, that I'm an alien.
Well, we all are, really. We just perceive we're humans. But going back to the question, like I say, I'd always been interested in people, always. And I used to be, there's a reason I'm telling you this, I used to be a professional soccer player, would you believe?
Really?
Yeah, back in the UK, I played at a very high level, and I was quite good. I didn't realise until I started to learn about the mind and the brain, what it was that made me so good. It was the fact that I could use my brain and my skill at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, I suppose what got me into hypnosis, my younger brother got killed in a freak accident.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and I just said, that's it, I'm going to go and help people. And I'd seen a hypnotist many, many years ago. I was fascinated by what they were doing. And I went off and studied as a hypnotherapist. So that's to do with the fears, phobias, confidence, all that type of stuff. And that's where my career was going. And, of course, I packed my job in. I was a consultant for IBM, and I had to go and earn a living. And somebody said, you've got a good sense of humour, Peter. You ever thought about going up on a stage? Well, I've never been on stage in my life, to be truthful. I thought, well, I've got to do it. And it's amazing how things happen. I went off and got trained as a professional stage hypnotist. Within about 2 weeks, I got a contract in Europe, in a place called Cyprus. Do you guys know where that is?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, wow. I've asked many Americans, and they think it's to the east somewhere.
Nah, I actually paid attention in school, every once in a while anyway. So you caught me on the day that I was.
Oh, okay, yeah. Honestly, when I do therapy, I always people ask obviously where I'm from, and I say, I'm from the UK, not far, round where Europe is, and a lot of them don't even really know where that is.
And then you say across the pond, and they're like, "You mean the pond in my backyard?" No, there's nobody over there but the Joneses, and they're weird.
That's it. Yeah. They all think we walk around with bowler hats and wherever. Well, that and little suitcases and have tea with the Queen.
So you were saying that you learned how to do this professionally for the state. Where does one go to do that?
Well, you mean the stage stuff or the therapy stuff?
Yes.
The therapy stuff.
Yeah. All of it.
Well, the therapy stuff, you can go to university and I got a diploma in hypnotherapy.
Really?
So yeah, that's what I learned to do, and that was all to do with the personal stuff and what have you. But I then went off and got trained as a professional stage hypnotist, and that sort of took off really in Europe, and I'm just amazed at what people could do. I remember my first show, I was absolutely pooing my pants, I was, and it's really a funny thing because I'd never done a show before, never been on stage. A friend of mine came over with me. We sat in the hotel for a week, and we said, we've got to put this 2-hour show together. And I went through all the different things. I mean, I get people to think they're doing racing cars. Like I said, a bit of mind reading, Michael Jackson, all that stuff. I couldn't remember it. And the guy who was with me, he put me into hypnosis, and we installed whatever it was. And the first show was in front of about 300 people, I think. And it's like being on stage. I was there backstage and my mouth was dry, and I just thought, oh my God, what am I going to do here? And then the next minute I was out and I sort of kicked into autopilot, and from there it just boomed and blossomed. And one guy seen the show who knew everybody else in the resort, and the next season I was doing like 5 or 6 shows a week out there.
Wow.
Yeah. But going back to what you're saying, you see, people can go and see shows, make excellent shows. Yeah. And I said, of course, that started the show off. It's really funny.
That's amazing. So I mean, when you started doing it, was it did you sort of expect it to take that kind of turn, or I mean, I've got to imagine there's been an element of it that's been sort of just surfing on surprise, I suppose.
I tell you what, Brian. It's actually, when you do something in life that's natural to you and you find your vocation. And obviously, I found it. I didn't realise for a while what I was achieving, because you're up on that stage for 2 hours and you're entertaining, and it's only when you get the feedback from people, and it's just natural to me. You're the same. We had a conversation earlier on, and when the banter comes out and it's just like talking to your friends. You're relaxed and your creativity comes out, and your sense of humour and your personality, and that makes a difference in any sort of form of entertainment, And thank God I just found my vocation. It's just natural to me. I'm a funny guy. I'm serious at times. Obviously, my passion is to help people, but I love them. I love the shows. They're clean, they're tidy, they're entertaining. It's getting a message out there. People, to be truthful, but people do not realise what they can achieve.
No, I think that's absolutely true. I think the untapped human potential is remarkably larger than what has actually been achieved so far.
Absolutely, and you always get the skeptics thinking that people are planted and it's unreal, but it's absolutely real. And you can see by my passion. I know I couldn't sell you a vacuum cleaner for $5,000 because I don't believe they're worth it. That's my personality. But this stuff, it absolutely works. People should, tap into it and embrace it, because, wow, honestly, God, it will change their lives. And they just really got to see it and understand it. And man, the world's your oyster.
So here's the trick. Could you possibly hypnotize both of my ex-wives into believing that I don't need to pay alimony?
what I would do, Brian, I'd hypnotise you to smile about the actual fact that you have to pay it.
Yeah, but could you get me to smile when the check bounces?
Well, you wouldn't bother you. You just have another beer. And just write another one until they get fed up.
Well, that sounds like less fun than my plan, but okay.
We could do that. Then we get them in there, and we could do some funny stuff with them. They wouldn't even be able to sit. I did a hypnotic show, a Halloween show when I told them I was invisible. That's quite funny.
So you're invisible, but they can hear you, right?
Yes.
Oh, that just sounds like a riot. That's awesome.
And what you do, you see, I walk around the stage with these bats on a bit of string, and they can't see me. They could just see these bats, and it freaks them out. It's like, it's cool.
That's excellent. So, you've also described yourself as a mentalist, and in all honesty, my only familiarity with that term is actually based around the TV show The Mentalist, and I don't know if that's have you seen that?
Yeah, it's
anything about that rings true? Is that just like a bunch of Hollywood fluff?
Well, of course, it's a bit of fluff as well.
Sure.
I mean, but I mean, the actual concept is real. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's why when I'm watching you now, and you're going to change in a second when I say this. I'm watching you, and I can see your body language, so I can actually know what's sort of going on. So from a mentalist point of view, what they do on the show and everything, they're writing what their concept is.
Mm-hmm.
You can do that in reality, but obviously not to the level that they do it on the TV.
All right, so I'm curious. I'm going to ask, and I will tell you that I will be 100% honest with you in my answer. In watching my body language, what would you say is going on with me?
Well, I think you're intrigued by the conversation.
Sure.
You want to say something that's quite interesting and funny. It's kicked off something in your mind. You want to ask these questions. You want to do something. It's an interesting conversation to you.
Fair enough. I would say yes.
And I also think, to a certain degree, there's a little bit of disbelief there, which is fine.
Nope. Sorry. There's very few things that I'm not a believer in, and again, just in being candid, because you seem so very genuine. I guess I would sort of say somebody once told me that I have a bullshit radar about 10 miles wide, and okay. I don't get that from you at all.
I think you're a genuine guy. I think you've got a. From what I've seen, I watched you a few weeks ago. And this is not just because I'm speaking to you. You've got a good personality. I can tell that. Genuine guy. I don't think you'd hurt anybody. You say as you see it.
We would have to draw the line at not hurting anybody. He might.
Well, unless you're into
all the rest is true. Yeah.
Well, look, if it hurt, I would just apply more Astroglide. That's all. And scene.
So ask me some more questions. There must be tons of them.
Yeah, well, so I was checking out your website, and I know that you had stuff about doing sports hypnotherapy and business development and different kinds of consulting. And there was something about interactive entertainment, which I call masturbation, but you can do whatever.
Well,
wait a minute.
You can do that without using your hands. Did you know that?
Yeah, well, it's still interactive. That's all I know is...
Right. Can I ask you to just have a look at that beer bottle and put your hand on it, and what comes to mind as you do that?
Not cold enough.
Ah, okay.
And let's be clear, that's about the beer, not about necrophilia. Just so that any naysayers out there going, we knew he was sick, we knew it's more than we could have ever imagined. Yeah,
I just watched how you actually grabbed hold of it. That's interesting.
Well, yeah, I went where it would fit, But notice I grabbed a hold of it. I did not stroke it. And anyway.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. We're going off a bit of a tangent here.
It's true. So, in doing what sort of hypnosis? If you're doing something with business development, again, something that's on your site, how does that work? I mean, is it do people in like the mailroom go, we would really like our boss to think that he should give us a raise? Can you make that happen?
Yes. Well,
No, so really, I mean, what kind of in working with a business, where does your craft come into that?
Well, I'll tell you. First of all, my speciality is in the sport, so we can come back to that.
Oh yeah,
the sport is really, because obviously as a sports person, I'm interested, but from a business perspective, is this: have you ever been to a seminar? Have you ever been to a conference and there's somebody standing up there, motivation, inspiration, all that type of stuff? And it inspires you and it motivates you, and you go away and you don't know how to implement it or what to do next.
Sure.
Okay. Well, when I go up and do a business presentation, I always demonstrate, what I'm talking about. Recently, I did a talk to a car dealership to the salespeople, and about the mind and the brain, and I did a demonstration at the end, and I took two guys, and the one was the director. And what I was showing them was, I said to the director, when I stand on the right-hand side of you and put my hand on your right-hand shoulder, everything I say and everything you say is positive. When I'm on the left-hand side, everything is negative. Okay? Mm-hmm. And I was asking him, so I was on the right-hand side, I was asking him questions, and I was saying things like, well, your hair looks a bit of a mess, you don't dress very well. And he was just saying, well, that's just the way. Everything was positive. Every response to what I was saying. As soon as I went to the other side, his body language, his attitude, his responses were negative. Don't you tell me I'm looking untidy. What I was trying to show him then was, you've got that ability to handle that situation, to make those changes. And one of the other guys I hypnotised, I told him he's going to sell me a glass of water for $1 million, no matter what I said to him. Okay? And you'd be amazed at what he was coming out with. He says, will you buy this glass of water for $1 million? I said, it's not worth it. He said, well, look, what we will do, we'll get a crystal glass, we'll split it in half, you can pay us $500,000 this month. And I said, no. He said, you can have my watch. He was doing everything I threw at him. But that's my point. In business, teamwork, when you do a hypnotic team building exercise, if you're in a room, Brian, like now, mm-hmm. with your colleagues, and I did some hypnosis with you all, just purely to relax, you all have a bond with each other.
Peter, I'm going to cut you off real quick. We have to run to a quick commercial break, so stand by. We're going to be back with some more Peter Kingsley in just a few minutes here on American Psycho. Go no place, period.
Juggernaut sound. Juggernaut sound. Getting the word out about what is both now and next. Juggernaut sound.
It's time to build your website. But are you feeling overwhelmed on what to do next? What's the first step? What do you do? It's simple. Just give us a call. At Excite Media Los Angeles, we specialize in professional website development. For over 14 years, we have created well over 1,000 custom online experiences. From small businesses to enterprise, we can handle projects of any size. Need a mobile app? Want your site to do something unique? Looking to revamp and revive your existing site? We've got you covered. For more information, visit our website at xmla.com. or call us at 818-985-2464. Excite Media Los Angeles, Web Development.
We'll be right back with more American Psycho after this.
Whoops.
Well, it's always great when the message does not actually fit the scene. Apparently, the after this was the millisecond between that ad ending and me speaking. So I hope you enjoyed that after this. I found it personally tasty, very informative, and I intend to go out and buy that product as soon as the show is over. Of course, when I walk in and ask for I don't think anybody will know what I'm talking about. But yeah. So welcome back to American Psycho. Once again, calling in all the way from beautiful Texas. In fact, we'll talk about that shortly. How a hypnotist makes it to Texas, all the way from the UK. That's interesting. But we are on with Mr. Peter Kingsley, who is Skyping in from an incredibly... Is that a green room, or do you live inside a P?
This is the green room. Yeah,
this is the green room. That's where you wait right before showtime.
That's it. It's bright, just like the flowers.
Exactly. So where in Texas are you?
San Antonio.
Really? I have friends there.
Yeah, I did the comedy club for about 3 or 4 months down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was called the Midnight Madness when all of you guys came in late at night, and it was hilarious.
Where was that at?
The comedy club, you know, down by the Riverwalk.
Nope, but I'll have to look into it. So how did that go? I mean, I guess when you typically do your show, do you do it at a stand-up kind of venue? Where do you go do that?
You know, in my apprenticeship, would you like? I mean, I've done some places. I mean, when I look back, how the dickens I ever managed, it's just you know, that's part of your learning process. I did them in bars, I did them in now obviously gone on to the bigger places, the bigger venues and the clubs. And to be truthful, you know, I've done them in some really, really tight places and got away with it, really. So the comedy club, you know, you just have to go with the venue, really. I prefer places with a bit more space, you know, so we can do, you know, different things. But the comedy club was okay. But the stage was a bit small.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely. I'm a stand-up as well. In fact, there's a club that I perform out here called Flappers in Burbank, and we had a hypnotist out there for a couple shows. I guess about a month or so ago, and yeah, he would bring people up, but yeah, I mean, it definitely got crowded and seemed very limiting on space. So I could see where that would be a bit of a hurdle, but you know.
And you know the self, if you're, you know, in any entertainment, that we've all got our own style. And I suppose what the fortunate thing with myself, coming from across the pond, as you say, is I've got my own style, and I think I've been told anyway that it's quite hilarious and refreshing. Mm-hmm. You know, and especially when the banter goes. I mean, I love it. I love when they start throwing the banter out, and you can just just twist it around, sort of thing. You know.
So is there one occurrence that you could think of that happened live on stage that just absolutely threw you, was like just one of the most I can't believe that happened moments?
Well, there's a couple actually.
Yeah?
There's a couple. Yeah, there was one scene where I get all the volunteers to believe that their shoe is a telephone, and I get a telephone to ring, and there's a celebrity on the other end, you see, and they all pick up these phones and they start talking away, and they talk to anybody, Obama, anybody, the football players or whatever it is. And I was walking, and I always stick the mic underneath and say, "Who are you speaking to?" And they'll either go, "Oh, I'm talking to President Clinton," or "I'm talking to Bonner," or "I'm whoever it is," you know. And of course, you take the banter. And I came across, because obviously when I'm doing the shows, when I first start the show, I have to be aware of every individual. I'm watching them, I'm aware of them. I get within seconds to sort of know what they're like, the personalities. Mm-hmm. And this particular lady, for some reason I noticed she was wearing a wedding ring. But when I said to her, and I stuck the mic under her mouth, and I said, "Who are you speaking to?" And she says, "My boyfriend."
Oh.
I quickly moved on.
Gee, why? It's funny. It's funny because you quickly moved on, and I'm going to think there's a possibility her husband did too.
Yeah, yeah.
Was he? Do you know? Was he in the audience that night?
Yeah, because I knew they were with a group, obviously. But I mean, the thing is, you see, the quicker you move on, it's the same if you tell a joke and they don't get it. The quicker you move on to the next one, it's sort of you're hoping. But I never asked that question again after that. You see.
Sure. Yeah.
What was the other one? The other one was quite funny. This is when I started off, and I wouldn't do it now. I don't know whether I should say this. Really, it's probably going to sound a little bit naughty, but I remember when I first
then we'll do it. We'll
started.
do it with this caveat. Anybody out there that is considering or doing a profession of hypnotism, don't do what Peter is about to describe. Okay, you're safe.
Okay. Well, obviously, when I started off, I wanted to see how far I could go with hypnosis and what I could do. So, part of the sketch, one of my sketches, I told people I was from Mars and I got a gun, and it was an orgasmic gun. And when I pointed at you, you're going to have an orgasm. Okay, so and you would, and I would point, and the girls were going, "Oh," and all this type of stuff, thinking they were having an orgasm. And so I moved it on. A few shows later, I moved it on, and I used a whistle. I suggested to this one lady every time I blew a whistle that she would have an orgasm, make love to a chair, and a guy where I was doing the show, he was right close to a bar, and this guy had picked it up, and I was doing some other stuff, and he kept whistling, and of course this lady was performing behind my back. So I took that out of the show.
So you had a hypnotic heckler.
Yeah. So the answer to the question, and that's, and then I realised I didn't really want to go down that road, and I kept to the comedy side of it.
Sure.
So, and interesting you asked that question. There's only been probably one incident on a show that I did that I got a bit nervous when I asked the guy to play the piano. And I asked him to play it with his hands and his ears and his elbows. Then I asked him to play with his nose, and he came after me. Yeah, he chased me across the stage, so I just hypnotised him, said sleep, and then I brought him out and sent him back to the audience because I wasn't. And then after the show, it was the fact that what had happened when he was young, his father used to take the mickey out of him instead of his nose, and he recalled that memory.
Oh no! Wow.
Yeah, so. And that's a nice way of understanding how hypnosis works, Brian. Within the other realms, the personal realms is, some of this underlying stuff that's going on. It's just amazing how it's still there.
Well, what's interesting, I mean, you tapped on something when you were talking about kinds of people that, when the whole talking with somebody on the shoe, and that people would be, talking with presidents, etc. Have you ever thought about, wow, this thing that I do, if I could hypnotize world leaders, that I could actually, that there would be potentially a path to some better resolution for things that go on in the world, other than say, oh, I don't know, dropping bombs.
Well, absolutely. You know what politicians are like. They never really. Us as the commoners, we know more what's going on than these people do. And if you could get them to be normal when they're having their conversations and discussions, then you probably get more things sorted out. Because they're not actually presenting their ideas from a human being's perspective. It's more from a politician's perspective, aren't they?
Absolutely. I mean, I think to describe most politicians, and I don't care what side of the aisle they're on, I think in their lapel, not only do they have an American flag, but there's a bag full of ego and narcissism. I think they just carry that with them.
Just get them to answer the question. That's all. Just answer my question, the straightforward question. Just answer it.
That would be a tremendous bit of hypnosis. You will answer all questions without bullshit.
And you know what? It would work, and they'd probably get fired. It's funny because I've done it with, I've done something similar to, again, I remember doing a show where I told the guy that he could not stop laughing at anything I said or anything that was going on. And the guy next to him, if somebody laughed in the audience, he got pissed off. All right? And while that was going on, I got another guy who thought he was a dragon smoking a cigarette. Okay, so you imagine this guy he's smoking a cigarette and he's roaring like a dragon, and the smoke's coming out of his mouth, and you got this guy getting pissed off because everybody's laughing at him, and then his wife comes. What happened was, I then told him they were going to win the lottery, and I gave him a bit of paper, and I'd gone through the audience, and I said to the one, every time I call the numbers out, you think you're going to win $10 million. The other guy, you're not, and you want to get pissed off, and of course. So you can imagine the reactions when I'm calling the numbers out. But my point is this: the one guy who I told him that, he would laugh and smile at everything. His wife came, and I told him he won the lottery. His wife came up. I invited her onto the stage and told him to rip the ticket up in front of him. And he was just laughing his head off.
All right. So wait a minute. Where do you come up with these scenarios? I mean, they're genius, but I mean, do you have like the weekend writing session? What kind of crap do I want to make people do? No.
Do you know what when you said earlier on to me, I could not even start to explain to you where it comes from. It just happens. I just see things happening, and it just comes out.
So you so you improv the scenarios as you're up on stage and go, let's try this and see where it goes.
There is a structure. There's a structure to the show because I want to get a message out there. One of the things I like is, but basically there's a part of the show where I'll take a female and I would suggest to her that when she opens her eyes, she's the hypnotist. At the same time, I've got two guys thinking they're Grenadier Guards standing outside Buckingham Palace, and they're gay. And when they hear the marching music, they're going to start marching in that fashion. So they're doing that. And the thing is, there is a structure to it, but I just go whatever happens. If somebody says something or there's something going on, as long as it's funny and it's not detrimental and it's not embarrassing, I don't know, to be true. I think you know this as a stand-up, that sometimes it just happens. Doesn't it happen if it just comes out? It's the creativity, it's your sense of humour.
That's got to be a good time.
And that's why they never. I mean, I was doing 5 shows a week, and I never got bored. Never. And every single one was slightly different because I wanted the people to bring out their personality.
Sure.
And the one thing I've learned, Brian, is the fact that 99% of people who I have hypnotised are very, very nice. Very nice, very positive, and you know, it's amazing. So then it draws me back to, you know, what goes on when they come out of this frame of mind, you know, and it's a protection mechanism. We tend to protect ourselves, and that changes our personalities and the way people perceive us and the way we perceive things.
So if when you're dealing with 99% of people that are nice and good people, what happens when every once in a while you stumble across the 1% who are maybe not so nice?
I haven't come across them.
Oh, well, that's good.
Seriously. The only time you come across them when they're not in that frame of mind.
Sure.
So it makes sense. If you're relaxed as you are now, or, you know, it doesn't matter what anybody says to you. It's very rare you're going to say something that's going to be detrimental to anybody. It's only when you're cheesed off or something that we start throwing stuff out.
Right.
So, you know, it's not that complicated when we think about it, and that's part of my philosophy, you see, is the brain is very simple, the mechanics are very simple, and they don't change. The only thing that changes is the data, the information, our perception, that really is the part that, you know, that makes it complicated.
So let's talk about that for a second, because in mentioning that the brain is very simple, do you see any patterns or any sort of consistency in the kind of responses that you get from men as compared to women? Do you see gender differences?
Yeah, and that's purely because their brains are different, they're physically different, and this makes sense. Give a man something to do, give him one job and he'll do it properly. Give him half a dozen and he'll muck a lot of them up. If a woman can talk, she can iron, she can drink, all at the same time. There's the first thing. And then it goes back to, you know, as men, if we're in a group and we're talking and chatting, we sort of know the answer to it. We sort of got the similar responses, haven't we, to solutions. That's because of our perception. So normally as growing up, you know, as men, we sort of follow the male sort of model, if you like, and then you've got the females of that, and then you got the ones in the middle, which are the gays. You know, that's an interesting subject.
In fact, it's funny. I was actually going to ask you: do you find is there something particular to somebody who is gay, lesbian, or transgender? Anything?
Well, I respect everybody and whatever their gender may be, but I've sort of got an idea, if you like, about the what makes somebody perceive that they're gay. What is it really that they're, you know? And I do believe if you want to alter the way you think, then you can do that. You know, so if you're trapped in this thought, or you believe you can't alter, then I don't agree with that. I think you can if you want to, if you've got the right training and guidance. You know, if we look at, you know, sometimes I think from that perspective, it's more comfortable sometimes for us men to be in male company, not because we want to sleep with them, we're just comfortable in male company. And it's you know, so there's sort of that sort of mixed in it. You know, from the psychological point of view, we feel more comfortable. Of course we do.
So,
you know.
So if I'm to, so that being said, do you? I guess, and this is completely non-hypnosis related, by the way. Has your experience, is your thought that there might be an element of choice to being gay as compared to being something that is genetic?
Yeah, I think majority of it is choice. There is a certain proportion who possibly, because of the DNA and the development of the body and this, that there's probably something there. But I think there is definitely a choice. Now, the only reason I say that, because obviously from my therapy perspective, I needed to understand that so that I could help people who came to me with those type of issues. And again, I don't do it with any malice, but I remember I was asked to do a show in London, in the middle of London, and it was called The Angel. And I wasn't prepared for what and I went, and it was a gay venue. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to find out whether the power of the mind, if you like, how strong is it that we feel that we can't release ourselves from our thoughts, if you like. And I did a part of a show purely to see whether it was a mind thing, and basically, what I did, I had a gay guy and a lesbian, and a gay guy and a lesbian sitting next to each other, and I just, under hypnosis, I suggested they were at the cinema watching a film, and the person next to them, they were falling in love with them, and there was no reaction between.
Peter, I'm going to interrupt. I'm going to interrupt, and we're going to create a cliffhanger and tell the rest of that story, because we have to go to another commercial break. But this is interesting, because I have a couple of other questions and thoughts about this. So let's dive more into this when we come back on American Psycho with Peter Kingsley. Talk to you in a moment.
Okay.
Bringing a new flavor to the airwaves with an original talk show featuring interviews, music, and entertainment. Join Miss Laura Fridays at 11 Pacific for the Female Perspective Late Night with Laura, only on Excite Radio. Fresh from the shores of Perth, Western Australia, where the independent music scene's been hiding away for too long. Broadcasting live from the most isolated city in the world, discover Close to Nowhere, hosted by Pete Renzulo, right here on Excite Radio, each and every Saturday at 1 a.m. Tune in and discover the flip side of independent music.
Do you like pussy? Who doesn't? Well, it's time to get one of your very own.
Fuck yeah!
Adopt a cat or kitten today from your local animal shelter.
Say what?
Or kittenrescue.org. Don't be shy. Get your...
Welcome back to American Psycho.
We are back here on American Psycho with hypnotist and mentalist Mr. Peter Kingsley, and we are, as Trent Reznor likes to say, we are taking the skin and peeling it back. And doesn't it make you feel better? So yeah, we were talking about and this interview has gone in a very odd and different direction, but I'm personally totally enjoying it, and I say we continue on down the rabbit hole and see exactly how far it goes. So yeah, we were talking about sort of the how much being gay or being straight, is it something that is going on in the mind? Is it a choice, or is it not a choice? And I will quote a very dear friend of mine, Mr. Hal Sparks, who is a comedian and has a bit where he talks about the idea that gay is a choice, but being fat is a disease. Gay is a choice, but fat is a disease. Now, as he would say, you can go to the gym and become less fat. Now, you cannot go to the gym and become less gay. In fact, quite the opposite might occur. But Mr. Hal Sparks, he's a fucking genius, and I love him. Yeah, so we were talking. So you were talking about that you had done some things where you had a scenario where you had somebody who's gay, somebody who's lesbian, and so tell me more about that.
Well, again, I can hear myself. Sorry. I wanted to see you know, whether it was, and unfortunately, I do believe everything comes from the mind. Everything's controlled from the mind, and I'll answer that question. Let's just look at this, and this will probably help understand what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
The mind, you as an individual, anybody else individual, what drives us in life? Pleasure. Pleasure drives us. It doesn't, you know, what we see, what we hear, what we touch, what we smell. Everything is, and that's what the subconscious wants to do. It wants to give you pleasure, every individual pleasure. So that's what drives us. You know, and if it can't get it, it tries to protect you. That's where fears and phobias and uncertainties and barriers come into place. So really, that's the concept of what the subconscious wants to do. And then the reason I'm saying this is because I worked with a young girl once who was bulimic, and the people were saying to her, "Why can't you see? You know, you're not thin." And this makes sense. It's not what you see that drives you; it's how you feel.
Okay.
So it's how you feel that dictates our lives.
Okay.
And you have the ability to alter the way you feel.
Sure, but I mean, if somebody is gay and what makes them feel good or makes them feel like who they actually are as a person is being gay, isn't that, I mean, in the same way that, I mean, for me, I'm straight. I like women. That makes me feel good. So is that simply a choice? Is there something where I could decide, you know what, I think I've changed my mind, like guys?
But it could be a combination of things. I'll answer the question, but answer this. Do you think, and when I'll say it this way, I could suggest to you that you are gay, and
it's
you would
been said before,
perceivably react that way, and vice versa. It's like this. If I said to you now, because the subconscious doesn't care whether you're sitting there eating a steak. If it perceives you are, it's just going to get the enjoyment out of it. Okay. So my point is to the, you know, and when we talk about the gay and lesbian, there's a lot more to it than that, because there's reasons why sometimes, you know, it's not just generic. You can't just put it into a black and white answer, because everybody's individual. It could be a combination of things. It could be a combination of childhood programming. You know, what's our experiences, what our trait, or whatever it is. So there's a lot of things that could, and to be truthful, I think sometimes it's like the old, you know, the smoking back in the 70s when I was in the UK, and I used to watch the adverts in the US, and you had that cowboy with his cigarettes. What were those? The Camel cigarettes, were they?
Sure.
You know the one. Well, there was a lot of promotion and there was a lot of advertising that cigarettes and smoke, and everybody sort of thought that was the vogue at the time. And I think a lot of people jump on a bandwagon, and sometimes they're forced, you know, it seems to be the right thing to do. So there's a combination of things to the answer to the question.
So,
you know?
Then, I mean, it would almost lead me to a couple of thoughts. And actually, because you mentioned commercials, actually, I'd like to tap on that for a moment, too, because I hate commercials, and I think they are mass hypnotism. But I guess I could almost, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, but I could almost extrapolate from what you're saying is that, to an extent, there is, you could almost remove the concept, and I'll put this in quotes, what is normal. It is simply that is whatever is your perception is what is your perception for yourself, and how that fits into society. So that it, almost with an understanding that whatever it is that drives you is about your subconscious. Boy, talking about subconscious on a show called American Psycho, this makes sense. So whatever it is that drives you is actually sort of is normal, whatever that is. And then it becomes a matter of how does that fit into the landscape of the world in which we live. So you could almost say that to somebody who is legitimately a psycho that might, you know, do horrific acts, if what is going on in their mind and in their subconscious they deem or think is normal, to them, there is an element of normal, but the simple fact is it doesn't necessarily make it okay, but it does mean that, so then society then reacts into response to how that person is sort of managing their subconscious. Did that?
Absolutely, you're absolutely, and to put in a bit more simple explanation, look at somebody who goes and has cosmetic surgery.
I do all the time. They look awesome and they're spongy and great to play with. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you're right. But then it's not. That's not the answer to their issue.
Sure.
If they don't feel good inside, it doesn't matter what you do on the outside.
Mm-hmm. I gotcha.
If your perception of you on the inside is negative, it's not going to change from. Yeah, you've got it from the outside. So going back to what you've said is that's exactly right. It's our perception that drives us, and it's so powerful. Sometimes we don't see the effect it has on society, it has on other people, because it is sort of like a brainwashing. You go back to the the Japanese and everything when they were manipulating the prisoner of wars. It was sort of a brainwashing, and they were very, very skillful at doing it. To the point where you just felt guilty for being an American because you felt as though you were. They'll ask a question like, if you're captured, do America give you opportunities to have a job or something? And they come up with a negative response, and then they tell their friends that they've just said, "Oh, this guy just said that in the US you can't get a job," or something like that, and they would manipulate that one little comment, that one word, and this is another thing that I'm passionate about. The minutest of word said that at the wrong time can have a devastating effect. The minutest of words said at the right time can have an amazing effect.
I totally agree, because I'm a master of saying that one word at the exact wrong time and then following it up with an entire statement. I'm king of that.
You're not on your own, no, are you?
No, I've got lots of friends who would all go, "Yep, he does that shit." No, there's lots of us out there, and we hang out in clusters, and be careful when we've had too many beers. So you tapped on commercials, and in your opinion, is there a lot of what goes on in modern advertising that would actually sort of be, this is a very well paid for hypnotism?
Well, you know what? And I do this again from my observation of what goes on in the UK and what goes on in the US. Okay, and you talked about advertising, and let me put it this way: in the UK, myself and yourself, we could go over there, and if we were taken ill, we could go into the doctors, the hospital, and we'd get seen, and it wouldn't cost us a penny. And also, but when we were watching TV, it's very rare you will get an advert on food or medication, because two things: A, the government don't want you to eat fast foods, because if you get unhealthy, they've got to pay to fix you. Mm-hmm. So it's very rare we would see that type of advertising. Unfortunately, here in the US, you see all the time. You're there, you're being hit and hit and hit and hit, and unfortunately, you've got no choice but your subconscious to, if you see something often enough, it's gonna stay at the top of the mental tree, if you like, and automatically we start walking into the fast foods and this, that, and the other. So
sure, no. In fact, I've done enough dealing with marketing and advertising that actually has a term, and it's called TOMA, and that stands for top of mind awareness. And I always thought it was interesting that happened to rhyme with coma. Just a judgment.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, smoke any crack today?
No, but later I might.
But something you said earlier on, Brian, about food and weight. I did a presentation to some. It was called what was it called? Weight management with hypnosis and what have you. And honestly, within a second, I could. If you're addicted to something, within a second, I can alter that.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
How?
Yeah. And then if you talk about food, you see, if you put it in the right perspective, what's food for then? What is it for? It's to give you fuel. It's to give you fuel for your body. Your brain will send you a signal, which is a hunger signal, to say, give me some food, give me some fuel. I need to and that's what food is all about. Mm-hmm. Now, the second thing is we like pleasure. So if we're going to use food for pleasure, then that's fine. But unfortunately, what people do, they use food as an emotional support, and that's what puts the weight on.
Gotcha.
In simple terms. So if you learn to manage the first bit, the second bit becomes easy, and the third bit doesn't exist.
And the third bit being the obesity or the lack of health.
Well, the third bit's being using food as an emotional support.
Gotcha. Okay.
Well, you develop a natural support. Therefore, then you take control of your weight a little bit better. That's in essence what it's all about.
So we are slowly but surely ticking down towards the end of the show. So I want to go back to some stuff that's also on your website. And I mean, so number one, how does somebody find you? Whether do you do personal consultations?
Yeah, I tell you what I'd like to do, bro. I'd like to do a show. I'd like somewhere in LA who would book me to do a Halloween show. I've got a date for that. So anybody that would like us to do a show out there, contact me on the website or yourself, and I'd love to come and do some shows up there. I'm working with a company up there for sports development, so that's quite a powerful thing that's coming through. Mm-hmm. So if they can visit the website, which is www.peterkingsley.biz.
Say that one more time. In fact, I was about to ask you. So what is the best website is once again?
It's www.peterkingsley.biz. That's B-I-Z.
Very good. And for those of us not in Texas, that's B-I-Z. Z.
That's the
Come
one,
on.
yeah.
What country are you in?
Pardon?
I said, what country are you in? B-I-Z. We need to hypnotize you to understand how the alphabet works.
Well, tell me this then. How do you spell the word check? If I'm going to write you a check out, how would you spell it?
If I were going to spell it, I would spell it B-O-U-N-C-E.
Thanks.
That way I avoid the question entirely. Well, normally I would spell it C-H-E-C-K, but I do also know to spell it other places as C-H-E-Q.
C-H-E-Q-U-E.
Oh. All right. So I flunked spelling in several grades.
No, but I'm only joking with you. But yeah, I'd love to come and do some stuff up there, but, that's what we're looking for, to come up, do some shows up there and do maybe some talks. But the shows is good if we can get something to get us on there. That'd be good.
I can, in fact, we'll have to talk offline about maybe getting you. I know it's just another comedy club, but Flappers in Burbank might be a ripe opportunity for that.
And maybe we'll come into the radio show and we'll bring somebody in and do some hypnosis in there. That'd be good.
That could be good. That could be dangerous.
That'd be interesting.
No, I would absolutely welcome that. I think that would be phenomenal. Of course, the next week the show would be called American Pacifist, and and be like, what happened? He just completely chilled out. It was amazing.
Yeah.
But so that's the website. Are you on social networking? Do you do Facebook, Twitter, things like that?
Yeah, it's all upon that. Yeah, it's all upon. If you type in Peter Kingsley hypnotist, you'll get all that stuff, and you'll see some really interesting stuff for kiddies, for help them in their education, learning skills, all that stuff. You'll see a load of stuff up there.
That is an important distinction, by the way. If you go onto Google and you Google Peter Kingsley, add the word hypnotist, because when I was checking him out earlier, I didn't, and I was going to interview somebody entirely different. I printed out stuff going, wow, this is really interesting and crazy. I wonder if I can pronounce these words. And I was like, oh, wrong guy. So yes, Google Peter Kingsley hypnotist, and you will, yeah.
Yeah. And sorry, Brian, if there's anybody that we're doing a lot of sports stuff, golfers, baseball players, all that, really good stuff for them.
So I'm curious, because we've got a couple minutes left. What brought what you do to the sports world? How did that connection happen?
Well, because
and
of me being a
with?
professional soccer player, and I took up golf, and I was asked by a professional golfer to help them. And basically, if you see the website, you see me hypnotising somebody, and literally within seconds, I'll set the trigger so that if it's golf, they're consistently using the golf ball. If it's baseball, they're striking it. If it's football, but I do it there and then, instantly, on the fly, and just get the job done. And I just want people to see that, look, this works, use it. Don't. There's no need to sort of say, oh, hang on, why is that working? It works. Mm-hmm. So if you're in sport, consistency, if you've got any issues, anything that's stopping you from performing under pressure, use hypnosis. There's got to be a foundation, of course there is, but once you've got it, honestly, it's just amazing what you can do. So, and I like sport as well. I'm interested in sport stuff.
I was going to say, I should have you hypnotize me into liking sports. That would probably Be a star. Actually, I mean, I don't. I mean, I love hockey, but above and beyond that, it's sort of like no.
Well, a lot of people like to sing and get up on the stage, and you can also do that stuff. You know, it's so you know it's irrelevant what you do. The fact is, if you've got something that's blocking you from even trying, then this stuff, this stuff really does work. It really does work.
I think it would be an amazing transformation to watch what would happen if actually out there within the world, people sort of began to find ways to get out of their own way and see how things changed and evolved. I think if enough of that happened, the shifts and transformations that would go on would be, they'd be a head scratcher, and people going, wow, we could have been doing this all along.
Absolutely, you know, and you're right. And the thing is, doesn't as time go on, we get more experience, we get more mature, we know what we're doing. Well, do it now. You know, you've got the ability to do it now. And I think you're right. Is, you know, use this stuff, and you'll just see an whole different world in front of you. And I think the more and more that people do it, like you say, I think there'll be a switch and a change in attitudes and perceptions of what we as individuals can do and what we can do, you know, as a group.
I just had this really horrible, dark idea where you're hypnotizing somebody on their deathbed, and right before they die, they look up and go, oh, you're fucking kidding me. I could have done that. Oh, click. That was pleasant.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Well,
good shit, Monkey Boy.
Thank you. Hey, I call my son Monkey Boy. Cut that out. That's not. Or you knew that, didn't you? That's why you came up with that blurb. Well, Peter, I really want to thank you for taking the time out to do this show. Absolutely. I mean, I knew when I spoke to you beforehand, I'm like, we're going to have a good time, and it was actually even better than I thought. So again, peterkingsley.biz. That's B-I-Z. Thank you so much, and we will chat soon. And everybody, tune back in next.
I think you've said enough this week. Join us every Friday at 8 for more from the American Psycho. Stay tuned for Liquor and Poker coming up next on Excite Radio.